The Mets' 7-game lead from 2 weeks ago has disappeared like a cloud. And now with just 4 games to go in the regular season, it's the Cardinals who are back in town. Yeah, the same Cardinals who ruined the Mets season in 2006. The Mets trying to right the ship, trying to overcome their bullpen woes, trying to score enough runs to overcome that guy. Albert and the Cardinals are in town for a makeup game with the Mets. At Shea Stadium in New York, it's the Mets and the Cardinals. This Mets game on SNY is presented in high definition by IO Digital Cable, the leader in HD. Do you see in HD? Mets have their smallest lead since the middle of May. The Phillies play the Braves and John Smoltz tonight, while the Mets try and get it going here at Shea. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Shea Stadium. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets, who just got swept a 3-game series by the Nationals, try and get it going against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Mets have really struggled with their pitching, bullpen and starters lately, and now Pedro Martinez, in just his 5th start of the year, will be called upon to be a savior tonight.
Well, Gary and Keith, I believe that the best person to get you out of these little doldrums is the starting pitcher. And boy, do they have a starting pitcher in Martinez, who has pitched extremely well. The start before this one in Florida, he had 9 punch-outs against the tough Phillies, 7 punch-outs against this Florida team. But more importantly, they rally around Pedro Martinez on the bench. And you can see what the starting pitchers have done.
And in those last 11 games, only twice has a Mets starter gone more than 5 innings. The Mets not only need quality from Pedro, they need length tonight, because the bullpen has been a huge concern night after night, no matter whom Willie Randolph decides to tab. And so the offense has been carrying their share. Over the last 11 games, they've averaged 7.2 runs per game. The question is, can they keep that up, and does that wear on the team after a while?
Well, I think the offense is going to continue to roll, and they have been wearing it out, and they have not been the problem here. And Moises Alou is leading the charge. He's been getting the big hits, obviously, with that big hitting streak here in a stretch run. The Mets offense has just been clicking. Now, a tough loss last night. They gave them a 5-0 lead, and you lose that one. That's a tough loss to take. But with the beat-up Cardinal team and Pedro on the mound, the offense has got to feel, hey, we get 5 tonight, we're going to hang on and win this ballgame.
Well, the Mets will be facing the Cardinals, who beat the Brewers last night to keep Milwaukee behind Chicago in the standings. But the Mets are facing a Cardinal team that has just had a devastating season. The question is, can they right themselves before it's too late?
Yeah, they have been devastated, but I'll tell you, Tony La Russa will definitely have them playing hard here. They're going to be an angry team. Had to fly in from Milwaukee, got here at 4 o'clock in the morning, fly to Pittsburgh after the game.
So it's the Mets and the Cardinals, a 1-game makeup at Shea. 4 games to go in the regular season. Time to rally the troops. The season almost reaching a sunset. All the action on SNY. This year, when you can't be home to watch your Mets on SNY or CW11, check out MLB.tv. Watch every out-of-market Mets game of the season live. Catch those you missed on demand, or listen to every radio broadcast. Sign up today. Visit Mets.com, where baseball is always on. Checking out our Jeep around the majors. The Rockies keep rolling behind Josh Fogg last night. They shut out the Dodgers for their 10th straight win. They're now just 1 back in the wild card, 2 back in the division. The Padres stay a game up in the wild card. Jake Peavy won his 19th last night, and the Yankees are in the postseason for the 13th straight year.
Great confrontation between Jake Peavy and Barry Bonds. His last at bat, he went after him with all fastballs right down the middle. Bonds couldn't hit a homer.
Pedro Martinez preparing for his most important start as a Met. It's been nothing but frustration for the Mets on this homestand so far. 3 straight losses to the Washington Nationals. Now just 4 games remain in the season as the Mets try and stay afloat. First pitch, Mets and Cardinals coming right up. It has only felt to Met fans over the last 2 weeks like the sky is falling. Now it appears it might actually be. Look at that.
Wow.
As Pedro Martinez takes the mound for his 5th and by far his most crucial start of the season since coming back from rotator cuff surgery. Here's your forward starting lineup for the decimated Cardinals. Yadier Molina out for the year. Adam Kennedy out for the year. Scott Rowland out for the year. Juan Encarnacion out for the year. Chris Duncan out for the year. Jim Edmonds limited to pinch hitting. And look what Tony La Russa's been doing for the last 2 months, batting his pitcher 8th.
Pineiro can rake.
No, that's not why.
No.
He's got some convoluted reason for doing that. He did it a number of years ago when he had Mark McGwire. He's trying to get Pujols more base runners. To me, it's a ridiculous idea.
I agree.
Well, Pedro Huge start, 55 weeks after surgery. See that record, of course, perfect, good ERA. 24 punch-outs in only 21 innings. Very impressive. 2 starts ago against Philadelphia with those 9 Ks and no walks. I think he'll need an effort like that tonight against this decimated lineup.
And the Lexus Mets defense and Sean Green out in right field, that platoon in right, and everybody else. That is Willie saying, hey, no, you got all winter to rest, and hopefully they'll have another month of playing time here. The Mets are in the driver's seat.
Keep in mind as this game goes along, as you look at a rather sparse crowd for a makeup game tonight. This game was the result of a rainout on June 28th, and those tickets were good for tonight's game. Keep in mind that Marlon Anderson is not available tonight or tomorrow night. His appeal of his 2-game suspension was denied today, and so he must sit out these 2 crucial games. David Eckstein having a great finish to his season, hitting 400 in September, and Pedro's first pitch in for a strike. Pedro's made 4 starts. He's won 3 of them, including his last start, that rain-delayed affair in Florida last Friday. And the curveball looped into shallow left. It'll fall for a base hit. And so Eckstein is aboard to lead off the ball game with a bloop single.
Well, a hanging curve here. Stays inside. Eckstein keeps his shoulder. Wanted to pull out. See him lift. They stayed right in and pounded it.
So Eckstein is on, and here is Rick Ankiel, who has been the subject of so much conversation during his 2 months in the big leagues this season. 1 month of nothing but glory, the other of nothing but controversy. Ankiel hitting at .276, and he takes the cutter for ball 1. Ankiel, who made the incredible transition from star-crossed pitcher to slugger, came up and set the Cardinals on fire over his first 23 games, and that led a St. Louis renaissance. But then came the allegations that he had received human growth hormone back in 2004 when he was trying to recover from his pitching woes and elbow surgery. And since then, he has floundered, and with him, so have the Cardinals. They've won 5 and lost 16 since those reports came out. 2-0 to Ankiel, and he pops it up. Castillo settling under it, Wynn grabbing it, and that's the first out of the game. The wind is blowing in from right field, and it clearly affected that pop up by Ankiel.
Well, you got everything working in Pedro's favor. It's a decimated lineup, wind blowing in. This is one thing working against him.
Well, it would certainly appear when you look up and down this Cardinal lineup that you just can't give Albert anything to hit.
I would be inclined to agree with you. He cannot let Albert Pujols beat him. Pujols was right in the middle of beating the Brewers the other night. A situation where Ned Yost didn't have to pitch to him and did, and he paid for it.
And Pedro works the outside corner for a strike. Pujols drove in his 100th run last night. He has driven in 100 or more runs each of his first 7 seasons. Having an off year by his standards, and that means he's hitting .325 with 32 home runs. Taken off the plate, and it's 1-1.
It's interesting now we're in the 5th start of Pedro, Ronnie, and he starts out throwing 82, low 80s, low to mid, and then as the game progresses, he picks up his velocity.
1-1 to Pujols, who's 0 for 6 in his career against Pedro. And he bounces it foul.
You're right, Keith. It's almost like he starts the game. Do I feel all right? Am I strong enough? I'm not going to tweak anything. I don't want to hurt anything. And then I think I'm good. Let's go.
Yep.
Well, the Phillies are already on the board. A bunt single by Shane Victorino drives in a run. And the Phillies have a 1-0 lead against John Smoltz and the Braves. Smoltz made a throwing error on that play as well to send Victorino to third.
Well, they lost the game last night because of an error by a 2-out error by Chipper Jones at third base. He threw the ball away.
1-2 to Pujols off the plate. 2-2. Well, Kyle Kendrick has been the Phillies' best coming down the stretch and going up against Smoltz, who has been the Braves' best all year.
Seen a lot of teams bunting on Smoltz now. Up there in age, does not move as well.
2-2 to Pujols. He's been battling a strained calf. It kept him out for about a week. He just came back this week. Bounces it back to Pedro, past him, but right to Castillo, who boots it, and he's safe at second base. Castillo thinking about whether he had time to turn two, bobbled it and got none. And it's an error on Castillo, allowing Pujols to reach and allowing Eckstein to reach second.
Well, what Louis does here is he looks for the bag before he makes the catch. Took his eye off the ball, and that was the difference right there. And Eckstein hustling to second base. That was a tailor-made double play, and that's the bad start for the game for the Mets.
Hard to take your eye on that one because it was off the end of the bat, had a lot of spin on it.
Fifth error of the season for Castillo, his second as a Met, and it comes in a huge spot in the first inning. And here is Ryan Ludwig, the right fielder, filling in for the injured Juan Encarnacion, and a swing and a miss at a fastball. Actually just got a piece of that. 0-1.
Well, Ludwig's got some pop, 14 home runs on the year. Another guy you got to be careful, but anything beyond that, you got Schumacher, who hasn't got power, Miguel Cairo, then Stinnett, then the pitcher, then Aaron Miles, who's really a leadoff hitter. There's not much power in this lineup.
Last time they faced Ludwig, they just pounded him in with fastballs. We'll see if they choose to do that with Pedro, though.
And the cutter misses, 1-1. So a bloop hit and an infield error create a problem for Pedro early in this game. Eckstein at second, Pujols, who's not running particularly well, at first. And Ludwig takes another cutter off the plate, and it's 2-1. Skip Schumacher, left-hand batter, hitting fifth in the order. And the breaking ball. Good curve by Pedro, 2-2.
Right here, he chose the hard, almost like a slurve slider instead of that slow curveball he threw to Eckstein. He wanted to make sure that Ludwig would take a pass at it, which he did. Get in the box.
Two and two to Ludwig with two on.
Well, Pedro's coming out on a lot of breaking balls early, Ron.
Yeah, I just think right now, against young hitters, we've seen it in the past against Florida teams, against Pittsburgh. Pedro tries to go to the breaking stuff, trying to entice them to go out of the strike zone because he knows they're dead red hitters.
Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, Mark Teixeira makes an error. The second of the inning, still nobody out. That enables the second run to score, and the Phillies are up 2-0. So the Mets are getting no help early from the Atlanta defense. And now Ryan Howard has just hit a two-run homer to make it 4-0. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Pedro Martinez fans Ryan Ludwig 2 down.
Well, a big hook here, and Ron, it's a nice, great spot right there. I just think that Pedro realizes that the import of this game, the importance of this game, not to let his ball club fall behind, and he hasn't got as good pop yet in his fastball. He's just, I think it was any other kind of game he wouldn't be monkeying around like this. He's being very careful.
And after a bloop and an error, you're thinking to yourself sometimes with a pitcher like Pedro, you know what, I'm going to single-handedly take care of these next two, and then we'll go back again.
Skip Schumacher, the number 5 hitter, and he takes the cutter inside. And although he's not looking over his shoulder at the scoreboard, his start just took on that much greater importance with the Phillies having put up 4 runs off Smoltz with nobody out in the first inning.
The Phillies aren't going away.
Schumacher taps one foul.
Going away.
1-1.
They're in the extra bedroom.
They're storming the gates.
I called Roger McDowell last night in Philly, and Roger said there's no way Smoltz is going to lose this one. It's his last start of the year. He's ready and pumped.
Then they better score a lot of runs.
Or catch the ball.
1-1. Swing and a miss at the fastball, 87 miles an hour, the hardest one Pedro's thrown so far.
Up in the strike zone, too, right by Schumacher.
Two out and two on. 1-2. Line in the left field, a base hit. Eckstein turns third and heads for the plate. Alou's throw is well offline, and the Cardinals take a 1-0 lead. Skip Schumacher behind in the count, takes it the other way. Just his 17th run batted in to give the Cardinals the early lead.
Well, Pedro tried another fastball up, and it is up, but nice hitting by Schumacher there. Nice and level cut, and even a good throw would never have had Eckstein scoring.
Well, so Castillo's error proves costly, and the Cardinals score an unearned run in the first. So the Mets, who have had leads galore and let many of them get away, now find themselves behind early. And here is the former Met Miguel Cairo, who started his season with the Yankees, was released, signed by the Cardinals in August as a minor league free agent, and right now playing every day at third base. Scott Rowland, one of the many Cardinal regulars who's out for the season. Well, this night could not have begun much worse for the Mets, with the Phillies on top big early and Pedro giving up a first inning run.
Boy, is Sean Green. We had a great shot there. The outfield really shallow. Beltran in center. He's way shallow. Normally he plays deep, and look at Sean Green.
Got to be a function of the wind blowing in from right field, but still, Cairo likes to hit the ball that way. That's a problem. Pitch count 21.
And that has really been a difficult part of all of Pedro's starts, is that he's thrown lots of pitches early in games. 2-0 to Cairo, punched foul, and it's 2-1.
Well, every fastball that Pedro has thrown in this first inning has been up the ladder and is breaking stuff down. You know, he's so much fun to watch pitch, and he's just so smart, knows exactly what he's doing, and that's why he's a Hall of Famer.
Kelly Stinnett hitting 7th in the order, waiting on deck. 2-1 to Cairo, and he punches it foul, and it's 2-2. Pujols is at second, Schumacher at first with 2 out. The run is in for St. Louis, and Pedro trying to put this top of the first to bed. Two and two to Cairo. He struck him out. Pedro's second strikeout in the opening inning, but Castillo's error leads to an unearned run, and the Mets down by a run as they come to bat. The Mets get set to come to bat in the bottom of the first inning. And here's your Geico Mets starting lineup. Only change, Sean Green in right field with a right-hander on the mound. Mets built a 5-0 lead last night. That wasn't enough. Tonight, they will try and hit and keep on hitting against Joel Pineiro, whom they will face for the first time.
Well, Pineiro's done a nice job since coming over from Boston. Kind of a tale of 2 careers for him. Early in his career in Seattle, started out 37-20 first 4 seasons. Since then, he's been 27-40.
He was relieving exclusively with the Red Sox this year, got in 31 games. But since coming to the Cardinals at the trading deadline, he's been exclusively a starter, which is what he's been most of his career. Reyes took an 0 for last night, now hitting at .285, and he bounces the curveball foul 1-1. And Pineiro's always had a pretty good curve.
Good curveball. He's got a little cutter, a lot of movement on his pitches. His problem always has been, especially of late, is throwing strikes. He'll tend to walk people, but he seems to have controlled that with Dave Duncan. Only 12 walks in 55 innings pitched.
And Reyes takes up and away, 2-1. Luis Castillo on deck, then David Wright. Mets have averaged 7.2 runs over their last 9 games. But that has more often than not been a winning formula. And he struck him out as Pineiro gets Reyes for the first out.
Well, the Rico defense for the Cardinals, and boy, there's very few familiar names there. Of course, the all-star, Pujols, Albert Pujols, and last year's World Series MVP, and David Eckstein at shortstop. Former Met Kelly Stinnett behind the plate. Otherwise, where are all the rest of the guys?
The infirmary.
Castillo takes ball one. Well, Jim Edmonds is here and available to pinch hit. The rest of them are done. Most serious injuries suffered by Juan Encarnacion, simply standing around in the on-deck circle. And his career might be over after taking a shot that hit him right in the eye, as Castillo slaps one to short for Eckstein, and the overhand throw just in time for the second out. There's Edmonds.
You know, you're talking about Encarnacion when he got hit by the foul ball. It broke his bone above his eye, below his eye, and his nose. But in 1999, he had been hit with Detroit, and he had a plate already inside behind his eye. So just tragic for him.
And of course, it has been a tragic year on so many fronts for the Cardinals. Obviously the most important thing, the death of Josh Hancock in a car accident, and that kind of misfortune has completely punctuated this St. Louis season.
They've had so much of their share of tragedy.
And yet, on the 7th of September, the Cardinals, there's Hancock's number 32 in memoriam that all the Cardinals are wearing. On September the 7th, if the Cardinals had beaten the Diamondbacks that day, they would have been in first place. As Wright drives into the gap in left center field, that's going to go to the wall. David heads for second, and he's in with his 42nd double of the year. Right now is a 14-game hitting streak.
Well, down, wanting to come in, too much to the plate, and in enough. Maybe Davis starting to look inside, Ron, because the last series, that is down and in.
I think that's the key, right? Key down, he can handle. The one up is the problem.
And we know that the Nationals just pounded him inside the last 2 games of that series in clutch situations late in the game. Got him hitting 3 double plays.
So here's Beltran, who homered in the first inning last night after Wright got aboard ahead of him with 2 out. Carlos now with 32 home runs, and he's 6th in the league now with 109 RBIs. He has really picked up the RBI pace late in the season. And the curveball misses ball 1. For most of these Mets, this is their first look at Pineiro. Beltran's had 5 career at-bats against him from having faced him in the American League. Pineiro had a couple of great years when he first came up with Seattle, a 14-win season and a 16-win season, but it's 4 years ago now. Curveball bounced toward the middle. Miles to his right, makes the quick toss, and just in time to get Beltran. Miles didn't get much on that throw, but just enough to end the inning. A double and 1 left, still 1-0 St. Louis. Charlie Sheen and John Cryer bring their dysfunctional family fun to the CW11 5 nights a week. Catch the Emmy-nominated hit comedy 2.5 Men now twice a night weeknights on the CW11. Kelly Stinnett leads off in the 2nd inning and takes ball 1. Stinnett, who's had a couple of stints as a Met, including one last year, filling in for the injured Yadier Molina, who is out for the season.
Started with the Mets, didn't he?
Well, LaDuca's having an issue with his glove.
I picked up LaDuca's gloves before. He uses a very old glove, one that's been around a long time. You can see all that. A lot of the catchers use that rosin on it, gets it nice and dark.
Stinnett takes on the outside corner, 1-1. Pedro has not faced the Cardinals since 2005. Of course, he missed out on a chance to face them in the postseason last year because of his arm woes. Grounded down toward third, behind the bag. Tough play for Wright, off balance, and he got it there in time. What a play by David Wright.
Well, down the line here, not hit hard. David ranging, has to go back for the long hop, and no time to set. And look at this. Very nice. The catch is easy. The throw was the tough part of the play.
Had to be a perfect throw, too.
Yes, it did.
It helps to have the right guy running, but still, that is an extraordinary throw by Wright.
Absolutely.
So 1 away, and now in the 8 hole, here is Joel Pineiro. This is something that Tony La Russa did in the late 90s with Mark McGuire, and he's doing again with Albert Pujols. He's been doing it every game since August the 4th, and interestingly, the Cardinals have scored marginally more runs with the pitcher in the 8 hole than they have with the pitcher in the 9 hole, although that doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Well, obviously, it's to get the double leadoff hitters, and Aaron Miles, and then Eckstein. You have the 9th hitter and a 1 hitter as leadoff type hitters.
In there for a call, 3rd strike. Well, La Russa's explanation is that he feels that he wants to get as many base runners as possible for Pujols and ensure that he comes up in the 1st inning. So instead of batting him cleanup, he hits him 3rd, and this way he has 3 hitters before Pujols comes up in every subsequent at bat. Of course, the flip side of that is that the pitcher winds up having more plate appearances over the course of the season than he otherwise would. Aaron Miles pops it up into shallow left field, and so Miles, the number 9 hitter, is retired, and Pedro has himself a quick 7-pitch 1-2-3 inning. Moises Alou up to lead off for the Mets as they come up in the bottom of the 2nd. We go to the bottom of the 2nd inning. The Mets down 1-0. Take a look at our Mazda drive to the playoffs. The Cubs lost this afternoon in Florida. Marlins have now beaten the Cubs, what, 10 straight times? And that has their lead down to a 1.5 games. Arizona won this afternoon, shutting out Pittsburgh 8-0. A Little League game for Micah Owings. Moises Alou in his 30-game hitting streak leading off. Owings 6 1/3 shutout innings, 4 for 4, 3 doubles, 3 RBIs, and he wasn't even supposed to start.
He's had a couple of those games this year. What a hitter.
It was supposed to be Brandon Webb today, but there was rain in the forecast in Pittsburgh as Alou hits one back to the mound, and Pineiro flags it down for the 1st down.
Nice play.
But Bob Melvin scratched Webb because of the weather. Owings pitched and pitched brilliantly and hit.
Well, nice play there by Pineiro. That should have been number 31 there. Oh, maybe not.
No.
Miles was playing up the middle.
Yep.
That would have been an out anyway.
Bill Webb was going to start today?
It would be Brandon Webb.
Oh, excuse me. I mean, they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. They got to start Bill Webb.
Bill's good with pictures, not necessarily with sinkers.
Billy's got a strained oblique right now, so he can't go.
Here's Carlos Delgado. And Carlos takes low and inside. Pineiro throwing hard, 92 miles an hour. His velocity generally has been down over the last few years from where it was early in his career. The other way down the left field side, foul. And it's 1-1 to Delgado.
No, my one regret is my Cardinal life, that I couldn't have hung on longer, or if they could have, when I was there, had the navy blue hats on the road. They're sharp.
That's your regret?
Oh, I would love to have worn the navy blue hat.
In the air to left center field, moving over is Schumacher. And that's the 2nd out. So 2 out and nobody on. Paul LaDuca coming up. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Guys, as these last 3 games has unfolded, it's been very interesting afterwards in the Mets clubhouse to see how everybody reacts. And look, this team has had some bad losses before. Last night, a little different. It was a look of stunned disbelief on a lot of these players' faces. And we know that Paul LaDuca wears his emotions on his sleeve. There's no doubt about that. But he said, quote, last night that I thought was very interesting. He said, you know what, to me, it looks like we're waiting to lose. And I know sometimes you say things in the heat of the battle and when you're upset, but that's something I haven't heard before at all in this clubhouse. Just a stunned look on this team's face. That's why hopefully they were banking on feeding off the energy of Pedro tonight.
Well, one thing, Gary, and you know you've been here a long time, the difference between playing in New York is the media coverage, the quantity of it as compared to other cities. And you can't hide. You know, you got each station with little sound bites, and you've got to stand there and answer to around 15 to 20 reporters.
But this isn't a New York thing right now. The national media has descended on this team because, let's face it, this would be the greatest late September collapse in Major League history if the Mets don't win the division. And, you know, the national media has completely descended on this team because this is the big story in baseball right now.
There's Joel Sherman right there at the post.
Joel had a fascinating stat today, and I think it really talks to just what the Met problem has been this year in terms of the bullpen. As Loduca lifts one to right field, and Ludwig is there, and that retires the side. 16 times this year the Mets have scored 6 or more runs and lost. The only teams that have done it more, Tampa Bay and Baltimore, the 2 worst teams in baseball. We go to the third. Pedro and the Mets down 1-0. Well, we referenced before what has attracted the national media, and that top line, I think, says it all. Mets had a 7-game lead with 17 to play. No team has ever failed to win. And we're talking about 131 years of Major League Baseball. No team has ever lost a 7-game lead in the last 17 games. And since divisional play started, only 2 teams with a 2-game lead with 6 or less to go have failed to win. Those are the 87 Blue Jays and the 96 Dodgers. So the Mets are, they have history on their side here, but, too many more losses, and all of a sudden history will be made rather than avoided. Here's David Eckstein, and he takes ball 1. And, it occurs to me, now I've never been part of a major league team. You guys have, and you've been on opposite sides of this equation as a pitcher and a hitter. You've got a situation right now where one piece of the team, the offensive piece, is holding up their end, and the other piece isn't. And it almost looked last night, over the last few innings, that maybe the offense had reached a little bit of a breaking point after another lead had been given away. Over the mound, Reyes coming in. Quick toss, and he gets Eckstein one away. So when you've got one side of the team doing its job and the other not, especially when you get to this point in the season, does it reach a breaking point, say, for the offense in this particular case?
It's tough to say. Each team is different, Gary. The one thing that you can't do is you cannot point fingers, because you're 25 and you're in it together. And there are times in the course of the season where the pitchers pick you up. It just happens to fall right now that the pitchers have been letting him down. The worst thing that can happen is come to the ballpark and you leave the park. Well, I didn't make a mistake today. Yeah. Woo, but so-and-so did. It wasn't my fault.
2 good change-ups by Pedro, and he's ahead on Anquilo in 2.
I will say, though, at times it will happen on a team, and you got to fight against it. I know you're right, Keith, but especially late in the season, especially what has happened now. I know early in my career we had a couple of starting pitchers, veterans, won't say who they were, but they started chirping a little bit about the offense wasn't going so well because we were at that time pitching so well.
Get hard up the middle by Anquilo, and he's got a base hit as he sneaks one through the middle. And the Cardinals have their 3rd hit off Pedro.
And I remember Mel Stottlemyre. I never saw him angry before that or after that. Called the pitchers together, called these 2 pitchers out, and said, "Listen, this is not how you play baseball, and it's not how you're going to pitch under me. If you pitch, you take care of your pitching. That's it. Only time you ever have to concern yourself with hitting is when you're up at the plate."
That's right, and that also, when you have that kind of instruction, it builds character.
So here's Pujols, who reached on Castillo's error his first time up, and Pedro works him inside. Well, the Dodgers ran into that problem a few years ago with Odalis Perez. Remember, he was having all that trouble with the Dodgers not scoring for him, and he called them out publicly, and he was basically vilified in that clubhouse from then on.
Well, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Pujols lines one foul.
You know what sport it happens to all the time is football.
Right.
They love the offense to get on the defense, or the defense says the quarterback can't complete a pass. They love to do that stuff. But 16 games. Here it's 162. The tide is going to go back and forth all the time. It's just right now, this, you said it, Gary, it's historical now. It's starting to get historical in nature. So that's when, it amps it up a little more.
1-1 to Pujols. 1-0 St. Louis, 3rd inning. And he drives one to right center field. Long run for Beltran, and he won't get there. It's to the wall. Anquilo flying to 3rd. He'll be waved home, and he'll score without a throw. It's an RBI double for Albert Pujols, his 101st run batted in, and it's 2-0 St. Louis. Now, the one guy in the lineup that you can't let beat you, and Pujols did.
Well, you can't walk him with a runner on first, and a fastball with too much plate. A ball he could have pulled. He played to the opposite field, and Anquilo just got a great read on this. He never hesitated from the get-go. Look at this. There he goes. He knew it. And that's just good baseball instincts, and that's why he's coming in standing up.
So 2-0 St. Louis. Here's Ryan Ludwig, who struck out his first time, and he swings over the changeup. The other piece to that equation, I think, is, most managers are position players when they play. I mean, you have a few scattered pitchers who become managers. Tommy Lasorda, Dallas Green. It's happened over the years, but it doesn't happen all that often. And I asked Willie Randolph tonight, I said, you never pitched, and you've got a group of guys who collectively are just completely scuffling right now. Do you know how to address them? What do you do to try and change things? And he said, well, all I can do is pump them up and tell them I believe in them.
Yeah, I think that's all you can do. If you're a manager or as a player, you want to pat them on the back. You might want to relate a couple of stories of some star players that you played with, whether it's Goose Gossage or Sparky Lyle or people like that when they were in a funk and how they kind of got out of it. Those are things you can do, but you really have to stay positive.
1-1 to Ludwig and a curveball in for a strike. But what about the pitching coach? What can Rick Peterson do at this point to change things?
Well, I know he's going to communicate with his pitchers. He is a great communicator, and he's going to do a lot of talking. I think, though, at some point, what can he say? It's up to the pitchers to do it. And the pitcher's defense, the reason a everyday coach or a guy who is an everyday player will let Pedro throw this pitch.
1-2 to Ludwig. Pickoff try, and back in standing is Pujols, and just back.
Well, he made that play a lot closer because he didn't come back sliding. And that's close as it gets. If he comes back sliding, he's not even close to getting picked off.
Albert's had the bad calf, and the Mets trying to take advantage of that.
Well, they served their purpose then. He won't take a big lead. That's tough. It's war out there. It's a big game for the Mets.
Ludwig rips one past right and down the line, and Pujols can walk on in. Ludwig with an RBI single, and it's 3-0 St. Louis, and they're hitting it hard against Pedro Martinez. So the Cardinals, who have absolutely nothing to play for, come in here, a one-day makeup affair, and they are taking advantage.
Well, that was the one wild card here, Gary, that I was thinking about overnight. This is a ball club that's playing for nothing to play for, and that's a high fastball, too much plate. Didn't get it in enough, and he paid the price. I didn't know what Cardinal team was going to show up today. I had no feel for it. Well, they've come to play.
I talked to some of their players today. I said, what's your state? What are you guys thinking? And said, anger is a word. Pretty angry when you have to play 35 games in 34 days without any rest.
Here's Skip Schumacher, still only one out in the inning. Schumacher drove in the first run with an opposite field single. He got his hit behind in the count. Ludwig just got his behind in the count as well.
Getting some good swings, aren't they, Keith?
Yeah, they are. And Pedro right there. Schumacher got a base hit last time on a fastball up, but he didn't get it up enough. So what does Pedro do? He elevated it.
The runner goes, and it can't be handled by LaDuca. It's a stolen base for Ludwig, his fourth of the year. So it's all going wrong for Pedro right now.
Well, another dangerous team for the Mets to play, a team with nothing to lose. Loosey-goosey.
A team that's last in the National League in stolen bases, and yet steals a base.
Jim Edmonds.
Schumacher can't lay off, and it's 1-2.
Just finish my thought real quick as we see this fastball upstairs by Schumacher. I was saying how an everyday player can't know what a pitcher. Well, a pitcher can't understand the troubles that playing every day, how your body feels. Well, an everyday player can't explain. I can't understand getting beat up as a pitcher. That's one thing that you have to be a pitcher. You have to experience it. You have to know what it's like to stand on that mound and feel as lonely can be, and then walk off to a chorus of boos. It's a horrible thing.
2-2 to Schumacher. Got him with a changeup. Strikeout number 4 for Pedro, and that's the second out.
Well, that's the best changeup he's thrown tonight. He took so much off this. Look at the sink.
That's been his best pitch, I think, since he's come back. He's missed a little bit with his fastball as far as location, but that changeup's been great.
And isn't that the bottom line right there?
Oh, boy.
Here's Miguel Cairo, who struck out his first time up. And again, Shea is quiet as a tomb.
Wasn't there a prison called the Tombs?
Manhattan House of Detention.
Yes.
I've never been there myself.
That's a good thing.
Glad to hear that.
I guess. 1-0 to Cairo. Popped up, shallow right center, and Green calling. Side retired, but the Cardinals add a pair of runs. RBIs for Pujols and Ludwig off Pedro Martinez, and now the Mets are in a 3-0 hole. Be sure to take mass transit to Shea for the race to the postseason for more thrills and celebrations. Catch the weekend series with the Marlins Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon. Go to Mets.com now for your tickets. There are your starters for the series. Same 3 pitchers the Mets faced in their 3 wins in Florida Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And they'll have Perez, Maine, and Glavine going on the final weekend. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, a 2-run homer by Pat Burrell, and the Phillies are up 6-0 on the Braves in the 3rd.
Wow.
Sean Green leads off against Joel Pineiro and takes a strike. You know, there are certain teams over the course of baseball history that are iconic. You want to talk about a great lineup, you compare them to the 27 Yankees. You want to talk about an inept team, you compare them to the 62 Mets. You're trying to characterize a team that came from behind, you talk about the 51 Giants or the 78 Yankees. But if you want to talk about a team that collapsed, you always talk about the 64 Phillies, who were ahead by 6.5 with 12 to play. And it's almost as though this edition of the Phillies in 07 is trying to take that team out of mind, as Green is thrown out by Eckstein for the first out.
Well, how ironic if it does come to fruition. And you remember, Gene Mauch was the manager of that Phillies team, and he went to the very controversial 3-man rotation in the last month of the season. He went with Bunning, Chris Short, and he took Art Mahaffey out of that rotation. And I think Dennis Bennett was the 3rd starter, the left-hander. And
kept pitching Bunning and Short on 2 days rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting article in the Post or the Daily News around 6 days ago, Gary, in the interview. The article was centered around Jim Bunning, Senator Bunning from Kentucky now. And it was an extensive interview with Jim, and Jim Bunning said, I don't wish this on anybody. I'm rooting for the Mets. I thought that was a terrific comment on his part.
Pedro takes a strike. Well, the other thing about that 64 season, the final weekend, the Cardinals wound up winning it. And in order to win it, they were playing the Mets, who were at that time a terrible team, on the final weekend. And the Mets won Friday night and Saturday. And it wasn't until the final day that the Cardinals were able to beat the Mets. And I guess the Reds lost. And so the Cardinals won by 1 game.
And the Cardinals went on to beat the Yankees in that series in 7. Tim McCarver hit a 3-run home run in that series. Ken Boyer hit a grand slam in game 3 or 4 at Yankee Stadium off Al Downing.
1-2 to Pedro, and it's in for a call, 3rd strike. So Pedro down looking, 2nd strikeout for Pineiro. And the other thing is, since it looked like the Phillies had it wrapped up, the Cardinals had already decided to fire their manager, Johnny Keane, and it wound up winning the World Series. So he leaves the Cardinals, goes to the Yankees, and
the next year
the Yankees fell apart.
And they said that Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford just about killed Johnny Keane. Because Johnny Keane was a strict disciplinarian and tried to come over, and with those guys, with that group, it wasn't going to fly.
You needed team meetings at Toots.
Well, the Mets have gotten just 1 base runner first time through the order against Pineiro, and Reyes hits it right down to Pujols. He's retired on 1 pitch, and that is the easiest of innings for Joel Pineiro. It took him just 7 pitches to get the Mets out 1-2-3, and the Cardinals are up 3-0. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. Just 3 games remaining in the season. All Mets home games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IO Digital Cable. Night game tomorrow, day game Saturday and Sunday, and that's it. Notice they took the staff meeting
Did they
off.
cancel the staff meeting?
I guess so.
Oh, great.
Did they cancel that staff meeting?
Did we get any feedback from management about the road show?
No, nothing. Crickets.
I guess we'll have to stick to street games. Kelly Stinnett leads off in the top of the 4th inning. Stinnett robbed of a base hit by David Wright his first time up, and he takes ball 1.
Well, it's important right now. Pedro's got to stop the bleeding right here, not give up any more runs.
Behind 2-0 on Stinnett with the pitcher Pineiro on deck and then Aaron Miles. Well, that should provide inspiration.
Sure. Not with that. Well, I won't say it.
I'm not sure where you were going.
No, I was going nowhere.
It couldn't have been good. Couldn't have been good,
nowhere.
whatever it was.
I was not going anywhere. Uh-oh, there goes Pedro off the. Going to take something off here.
He was having, I think, a necklace problem or something. Ray Ramirez came out between innings, and apparently it's a jersey issue. And so he's going to change jerseys in the middle of the inning.
I used to change jerseys 2 or 3 times a game, but it was for sweat, not for.
Too much.
You have a broken button or something?
Too much starch?
I don't know. Maybe it's just for luck.
Change it up. Why not?
Thank you for averting your gaze, Mr. Webb, by the way, before, yeah. There are certain things you just don't need to see in the course of a baseball game. Steve Lyons.
What did you say?
He said Keith Hernandez jersey. You don't need to see.
Well, there are all sorts of delays that occur during games. We saw a delay with Pedro a couple of years ago when the sprinklers went on here at Shea. This is your official jersey delay. It's at 1:20 and counting.
There's a crane pull jersey down there, too. These old Met fans are bringing them all out.
Okay, back to work.
There's Ed.
And Pedro misses high. Now he's behind Stinnett 3-0. The pitcher Pineiro hitting in the 8-hole on deck. And there's a strike. And he hits one in the air to left for Alou. 1 out. So Pedro retires the leadoff batter for the 3rd straight inning. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
You know, guys, you've touched on this the last couple of games, but I got to be honest with you, sitting down here in the camera world for the last couple of games and walking around, I'm stunned at this crowd. And it's just amazing the lack of emotion the last 3 days from the crowd. You know, I walked through the crowd a little bit today before I got down here and just kind of wanted to get a feel for what was going on. And it's a lot of people sitting on their hands and honestly not knowing how to react here. It's like being at a wake. It's like people at the event, kind of awkward, don't know what to say, don't know what to do, almost afraid to show any emotion. And I just can't remember being at Shea for a game of this magnitude to have this type of non-reaction from the fans. It's almost like they're afraid to get involved. It's very, very bizarre. You've touched on it, but just being down here and walking through the stands, it's something I've never experienced for this magnitude of this type of game.
It's almost like they have a sense of doom. The 0-2 on the outside corner, strike 3 call. So Pineiro struck out for the 2nd time. It's 5 Ks for Pedro tonight. 2 out and nobody on.
Well, after last night's loss, that tough loss, when the fans were filtering out of this ballpark, it was like a wizard came and cast a spell on them. They were sleepwalking. They were just in stunned silence.
It was like the walk of the zombies. It really was.
And you know what? For the first time, the words coming out of the Mets clubhouse were similar.
Yes.
To hear Carlos Beltran use the word unbelievable and talk about in tremendous frustration about how we, the offense, did everything we could. There were words that we hadn't heard before, words of resignation that, and, you know, Kevin mentioned Loduca's words earlier, that, you know, with all the bravado the Mets have put up over the last few weeks, didn't seem to be there anymore. Beltran ranging in, and he grabs the drive hit by Miles. to end the inning. So Pedro throws up a 1-2-3 inning, and the Mets will try and go to hitting against Pineiro with Castillo, Wright, and Beltran coming up. An all-new Mets Weekly sits down with our own Kevin Burkhardt to talk with him about his season on the road with the Mets. Ooh, what's he giving away?
I don't know.
A new episode of Mets Weekly Saturday at noon exclusively on SNY. Luis Castillo leads off the home 4th inning, and he takes ball 1 from Joel Pineiro, who has been very solid over the first 3 innings.
Kevin, there's a couple of things I wouldn't like repeated, please. Life on the road.
Well, one thing Pineiro's been doing, Ron, he's been throwing strikes.
And the crowd's starting to get going a little bit, trying to get the Mets going. And Pineiro behind Castillo 2-0. Castillo grounded out to short his first time up. He began the night with a 12-game hitting streak. Wright now has a 14-game hitting streak, kind of in the shadow of what Alou has done. But the Met offense has been clicking on almost all cylinders. The only guy who really has not been going is Reyes, who had the one big game 2 nights ago when he hit a couple of home runs. But other than that, everybody up and down the lineup has been contributing, and the Mets have been scoring. Not so far tonight, though. And Castillo takes a strike on the inside edge. Las Diaz with a wide zone.
Now, you know, Castillo, I've been noticing, Gary, Iran, has been taking a lot of pitches. You know, when you're behind, it's fine. This is a 300 hitter here. He got a 2-0 count. He took all the way. And that's a fat fastball. I want him swinging the bat more, being more aggressive. He can hit.
Chops one out in front of the plate. Pineiro throws him out. 1 away. So Castillo retired. That's 8 in a row set down by Pineiro since David Wright's double in the first inning. And now Wright comes up for the second time. They've gone to the 5th in Philadelphia. Still Phillies 6, Braves nothing.
Well, Phillies are doing what the Mets did earlier in the month when they beat Hudson and Smoltz twice.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That was Kevin James, the king of Queens. He was screaming. David Wright takes a strike. David doubled up the gap in left center his first time up, his 42nd double of the year. Just 2 shy of the Mets club record for doubles. 1-1 to Wright. Gilkey had 44 doubles in 1996, and that has stood as the club record. How come you never had 44 doubles?
I had 48.
Not as a Met.
No, on that AstroTurf in that big stadium in Busch Stadium, I had 48.
You probably had triples there.
I had 12. How about that? Speedster.
Wow. 3-1 now to Wright, with Beltran and Alou to follow as the Mets try and get something generated here in the bottom of the 4th, trailing 3-0.
Got to throw a strike here.
And David takes ball 4. And the Mets have just their second base runner. Wright with a double, Wright with a walk, and so far that's been it.
George.
Oliver Platt.
What is he doing with a Met hat on? That's George Steinbrenner.
Well, it was. So here's Beltran, who grounded out to second base his first time up. Wright with a very short lead. And Beltran takes a strike. And Pineiro has been awfully good. His fastball has some life. He's been right on the corners.
Aggressive.
Yeah.
What's that?
Going after hitters.
Swing and a miss. Good breaking ball by Pineiro. 0-2.
That is a wicked tight slider, RJ.
Looks like a fastball right down the middle. Little left turn.
Let's check in with Kevin.
Guys, talking to Carlos Beltran, he seemed like a guy that was just trying to come to grips with what was going on with his team. Like a guy that certainly is playing hard, thinks the team is playing hard, just couldn't figure it out. He said twice, actually, in about a 5-second span last night, hard to figure out. Said, you know, as far as offense is playing well, can't put it all together, hard to figure out. Said it's hard to believe we're a first-place team right now. And I asked him, hey, you feel safe with any lead at this point? Kind of shrugged your shoulders, said, look, we're scoring runs, they're giving them up, it doesn't matter. Bottom line is we're not winning games.
Well, they've been a first-place team every day since the middle of May. Popped up foul. But if they lose tonight and the Phillies win, they will be sharing that lead. Well, over the last 9 games, the Mets have lost 7 games in which they had the lead, including 6 that they had a multiple run lead. How to avoid falling into that funk. Swing and miss. He struck him out. Pineiro gets Beltran. That's his 3rd strikeout, 2 away.
And that's a terrific change right here. I thought he would have come back with a curveball. That's wicked.
Especially after you fooled him with a couple sliders in, the changeup down and away.
So Joel Pineiro pitching like the Joel Pineiro of 2002.
Channeling Seattle.
Always got to be careful here with this guy. You want to keep him in the ballpark.
Now Lou hit a shot back to the mound that Pineiro snagged and threw him out on his first time up. 30-game hitting streak for Moises. Pulled down to 3rd. Backhanded by Cairo. Gets the out at 2nd. Side retired. So the Mets continue to fumble offensively against Pineiro. They've had just 1 hit. It's all on Pedro. Fifth inning, Pedro Martinez down 3-0 on a night when the offense is not yet produced, trying to hold the Cardinals in check. 3rd time around the batting order, David Eckstein takes ball 1. Eckstein singled and scored in the 1st inning, grounded out in the 3rd, 1 for 2. Tony La Russa has said he'll do whatever necessary with Eckstein to make sure he hits 300 this year, including hold him out of the lineup the last weekend if he has to.
Why?
I don't know. That's what he said. The center field for Beltran. Although the way Eckstein's going, he probably won't need that assistance. 6 in a row retired by Pedro. Let's check in with the studio. A City Baseball Night in New York update, and Matt Yaloff.
All right, Gary, you know things are going the Phillies' way when Pat Burrell, who has looked foolish against John Smoltz over the years, connects for his 30th home run, a 2-run shot. Smoltz is done after 4, 6-0 Phillies in the bottom of the 5th.
Oh, the old hanging slider from Mr. Smoltz.
Well, the Mets get no help from Smoltz tonight. Rick Ankiel 1 for 2, and he takes a strike, 0-2. 4 games to play, a 1-game lead, and things not going well on either front for the Mets tonight. To Ankiel, line to left, in comes Alou, and he dives to make the catch.
Well, Alou gets a great jump on this ball, and once he gets there, that's a play he should make. Great jump. The ball's ripped. You can see Alou coming in. Nicely done. He can play.
And Pedro not only showing appreciation, but I think just trying to get everybody pumped up.
Yes.
This team is lifeless right now. There's Pujols, who takes ball 1. I mean, we talked about it before. Last night, the Mets came out hitting early. They built a 5-0 lead. But it seemed from the time the Nationals took the lead in the 5th inning, the light went out. The Mets had just 2 infield hits over the last 5 innings, and they've had only 1 hit in the first 4 innings today. 1-1 to Pujols. And that offense cannot stop. They have got to carry this team right now.
Well, you're right, Gary, about what came out of the clubhouse. The Met clubhouse, answering the press. You know, driving into the park today, listening to the fan and the sound bites on the Ed Coleman show, my favorite.
In the air, deep down the left field line, right toward the pole. That ball is foul. Wow. Up into the 3rd deck. The sweet level. And just foul.
Ripped.
Right into somebody's party.
That's Pedro's reaction. A little body English to get that foul and a stare at Pujols.
It's a long strike.
2-2. Line toward the gap in left center. That'll find the grass and go to the wall. And Pujols has his 2nd double of the night.
Well, let me tell you something. Alou's play now is large. That's an RBI double right there, and a 4-0 ball game. Every play now, not just every at bat, every play in the field, every base running play is critical. And this right here, that saved a run. That won't be in the game story tomorrow if the Mets come back and win by a run, but that saved a run.
So now Pedro has to go after Ryan Ludwig, Pujols' 36th double of the year. And Ludwig fouls it off.
No, but finishing my thought on what David Wright's always there answering the press and the little sound bites for the fan. He was like Ralph Cramden, humming. He was lost for words.
Yeah, well, he
was
won't
stunning.
get lost in a game like that.
Well, there's only so much you can say after a while. I mean, it's been pretty much the same story every day. The difference is the lead is smaller and the hour is later. Ludwig fouls it off, and it's 0-2.
The thing I found interesting was not the comments or the non-comments. I found interesting that there was chatter in a clubhouse that has not seen a lot of chatter during the season. That tells you that they're a little out of their box.
Pedro ahead 0-2 on Ludwig. And the curveball struck him out. Strikeout number 6 for Pedro Martinez. And with help from Moises Alou, Pedro keeps the Cardinals off the board in the top of the 5th. Halfway through, though, Cardinals 3, Mets nothing. Now you can catch the animated antics of the hit show Family Guy twice a night on the CW11. That's 2 chances every weeknight to laugh along with the funniest family on TV. Don't miss Family Guy weeknights on the CW11. Carlos Delgado leads off the home 5th inning against Joel Pineiro. Pineiro just 43 pitches through the first 4 innings. He has been in total command. Delgado flied to left his first time up. Mets have had only 1 hit. Smack to left center field, a base hit for Delgado. And Keel gets over to cut it off, and he'll hold Carlos to a single. So Delgado takes it the other way, and the Mets have the leadoff man on for the first time.
Well, 2 at-bats with Delgado going to left field. Excuse me. This is a ball middle in. A ball that you can pull. No, it kind of sunk away, but it went right with it. And that is something that Carlos hasn't done much all year. Had it right down the middle. That's a ball he can pull or play the other way. So I got to believe this is Delgado's approach. That he's changed his approach because he hasn't been hitting on this homestand. And I agree with him 100%.
It's an eerie looking moon. That's trying to provide some danger here as LaDuca swings and hits it to third. Nice backhand stop by Cairo. Out at second. Miles relay out at first. Well, LaDuca's hit a couple of those the last 2 days. Zimmerman robbed him last night. This time Cairo with the backhand to start the double play.
Well, this whole homestand with Ryan Zimmerman, now Miguel Cairo, just some outstanding play at third base from the opposition. And that's a double right there. And what is it? An inning, I'm sorry, a rally-killing double play. Oh, what a play.
Well, when things are going bad, those are the things that happen. So now 2 out and nobody on for Shawn Green, and he takes a strike. I want to mention that in an otherwise completely meaningless game, Matt Belisle of the Cincinnati Reds is a no-hitter through 6 innings against Houston. And Green takes low and in, and often through Major League history there are no-hitters thrown the last week of the season in exactly those kinds of circumstances.
I have a lot of AAA players playing that have been call-ups, September call-ups. A lot of guys packing it in.
2-1 to Green, who bounced out to short his first time up. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. The Mets are down 3-0, and Pedro is out on deck. Mets need innings out of Pedro, and Willie will count on his hitters to get him some offense tonight. There's been none forthcoming so far. Now it's 3-1 to Shawn.
Well, Pineiro does not want to lose Shawn Green right here. They run the old fastball away.
On 3-1, Green swings and misses, and a full count to Shawn.
Looked like Shawn was trying to hit a home run there on a fastball knee-high outside corner.
Well, it's not a bad idea, is it, to take a shot at 3-1 and then when it gets a 3-2 go the other way maybe?
You want to be more selective with your area. If you're going to do that, you can't hit a pitch down and away. Easier said than done.
Up the middle, off the pitcher's leg. Pineiro chases it down, has no play. It's an infield hit for Shawn Green. And Pineiro striding back to the mound, looking like he's okay.
Oh, very fortunate for the Mets, because Eckstein would have had this ball easily, playing way up the middle. Now the Mets, if Pedro doesn't keep the rally alive, will have Jose Reyes leading off, top of the order. So Shawn Green continuing to hit.
Pedro took a call third strike his first time up. So the Mets have their 3rd hit against Pineiro. Pedro has 1 hit and 8 at bats this season. That was a double over the left fielder's head. Suppose he has another one of those in him.
Great to get up for Reyes with 2 outs.
He is the more muscular Pedro Martinez this year, having done lots of lifting during his rehab. As Reyes waits. And it's bounced foul, 1-1.
This is good old-fashioned pitching, Ronnie. There's nothing you don't see a lot of today. Pitcher not afraid to throw strikes.
Not afraid to throw strikes, working both sides of the plate and keeping the ball down. That's something he's done pretty well throughout the game.
And he threw that last fastball at 94 miles an hour. This is a Joel Pineiro that has not always been in evidence the last few years. One and one to Pedro. Swing and a miss late on that fastball. 1-2.
And my theory on it is that he's always been a starting pitcher. He went to Boston, is in the bullpen, didn't have all those starts leading up to coming here to the Cardinals. So he's pretty fresh right here at the end of the season.
Well, since they got him, he's got more wins than any other Cardinals starter. He's 5-4 since joining St. Louis. This is his 11th start.
Nice cut by Pedro. Nice level swing. Got a chance when you swing level.
Pedro victimized by an Eckstein bloop in the first inning. Maybe he can get a bloop of his own.
On 1-2, Pedro taps one, and Eckstein hurries in. Pedro running as hard as he can, but he's out to end the inning. Mets get 2 hits, but the double play thwarts them onto the 6th. Still 3-0 St. Louis. In 2007, Hyundai, the Mets, and SNY are teaming up to strike out cancer. For every K the Mets pitching staff registers, Hyundai, the Mets, and SNY will make a donation to the Hope and Heroes Children's Cancer Fund. If you'd like to help, please go to www.hopeandheroes.org. Sixth inning. 6 strikeouts for Pedro through the first 5. And Skip Schumacher leads off and takes a strike. The Cardinals got an unearned run in the first, and Schumacher drove that one in with a 2-out single. They added 2 more runs in the third. Pedro had to work very hard in that first inning, but he's been able to conserve his pitches since, and so he's got a reasonable pitch count in the 6th. Mets would love to get 7 out of Pedro.
Wouldn't they?
See 24 pitches in the first and then 21 in the third when the Cardinals got those 2 runs, and he gave up some hard hit balls in that third, but really none since. Got him with a changeup, so Schumacher down on strikes for the second time. That's 7 strikeouts now for Pedro. 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt.
You know, guys, if anybody knows what the Mets are going through, it's the Cardinals. I mean, you look back to last year, they had a 7-game lead in the division on September 20th. Lost 8 of the next 9, and that lead went to a half game over the Astros before they finally woke up, won the last 2 out of 3 and snuck into the playoffs, and we know what happened from there. Talking to Braden Looper about that today, he said, you know what, it just got to a point where we said, you know what, we just got to come to the park, show up, play hard, and let the chips fall where they may, because otherwise you consume yourself in it. He said the one good thing about being a baseball player is that you have your routines, and you stick with your routines, and you hope that that avoids the outside distractions, but there's no doubt that it starts to wear on you. He also said a big relief was looking up at the scoreboard and seeing the Astros finally lose a game. He said, believe me, Saturday and Sunday, look at the board, they finally lose, we finally get in, a relief. And then when we finally knew we were in the playoffs, we could take a deep breath, and it all changed from that point. So that's kind of where the Mets are right now. Ironically, guys, you know who finished off the Astros last year? John Smoltz pitched the final game against the Astros, 6 innings, a shutout ball. Fortunately, the Mets couldn't rely on him like the Cardinals did last year.
Well, it may not be a relief as you look at what the Cardinals did last season, but it is a dent. Chipper Jones just hit a 2-run homer for the Braves. Curveball misses to Cairo 2-2, and so in the top of the 6th inning, it's now the Phillies 6 and the Braves 2. And Mark Teixeira just homered right behind him, and now it's the Phillies 6 and the Braves 3. So the Braves are coming back. 2-2. Curveball hit to left, shallow. In comes Alou. And they're 2 away. So the Mets have some hope on the scoreboard. A Phillies 6-0 lead has been cut in half by back-to-back homers by Chipper and Teixeira.
Boy, is Teixeira red hot?
Oh, what a half a season
He's hitting home runs in that stadium.
That's 30 home runs, he said. He had 13 in 4 months for Texas, 17 in 2 months for the Braves. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Stinnett, who's 0 for 2. So Pedro dealing now. The question is, can the Mets come back against Joel Pineiro, who has a very low pitch count? And maybe around for a while. Well, Met fans are Braves fans tonight, as they were last night and the night before.
Oh, they're begging, aren't they?
Swing and a miss, and the team that Met fans cursed for the last 3 days, the Washington Nationals, well, they will be their favorites over the weekend as the Nats go to Philly for 3 games starting tomorrow. 1-2 to Stinnett. Curveball hit to left field. Alou is there. And so Pedro Martinez with a 1-2-3 inning. He's thrown 6 strong. Now it's up to the top of the order in the bottom of the 6th. Are you ready for a one-on-one with Mike Tannenbaum? This week, the Jets GM comes to the SNY studios to break down the Dolphins game and to look ahead to Buffalo. First and goal with Mike Tannenbaum, Thursday at 4:30, only on SNY. Well, the Mets come up at the bottom of the 6th, down 3-0, third time around the batting order against Joel Pineiro. And I think it goes without saying, this is an enormous inning for the Mets.
Well, he can spark this club.
Reyes is 0 for 2, and he takes a curveball for a strike.
Boy, and Cairo way in at third base. Pujols even with the bag at first. 2 guys right there. They're the table setters.
Castillo in right behind Reyes. And he waves at a pitch out of the strike zone, and it's 0-2. Not a good way to start.
Well, not a good swing right here. That's a wave.
Reyes just cannot seem to get it going, even with that 2-home run game the other day. Just 9 for his last 48.
Well, don't throw him a strike. We'll see if he'll go fishing again.
And he takes a call, third strike. Fastball on the outside corner. Strikeout number 4 for Joel Pineiro. Second time he's gotten Reyes. Let's check in with the studio. A baseball night in New York update and Matt Yellow.
All right, here it is, guys. Top of the 6th after Chipper hit a 2-run shot. This is Teixeira with a home run, his 3rd in 3 games. He is 30 on the year. These against Kyle Kendrick. Bottom 6 now, 6-3 Philadelphia.
Looks like Kendrick was going to need a chiropractor after that reaction. Here's Castillo, and he takes a strike.
Taking a lot of pitches, Castillo. We talked about that. And Cairo again aggressively in. Respecting the bunt at third base.
Castillo 0 for 2 tonight. A couple of ground ball outs. Started the night with a 12-game hitting streak. And Pineiro misses inside 1-1.
Boy, Pineiro's got good stuff. He got a good array of pitches.
Pineiro has pinpoint control.
This is something we don't see very much. Used to. Not today.
Castillo slaps one toward the hole. Eckstein on the backhand. The long throw, and he got him. I'll tell you what, every time you see David Eckstein's throw, you say, well, he's got a pop gun arm. There's no way he can throw him out, and every time he makes the play.
Well, he sets and throws because he hasn't got the strength in the arm. That's very close to make the throw on the run, and that's as close as it gets.
Nice stretch, too, by Pujols, getting way out there.
Got him. Good call.
So 2 out and nobody on for David Wright. David's been aboard twice with a double and a walk. Mets have had only 2 other base runners. The Met offense over the last 9 games has averaged 7.2 runs per game. Tonight, no runs, 3 hits.
Ooh.
And a good fastball for a strike, 1-1.
Well, as a hitter, when you face a guy like this, Gary, I know it's unusual in today's game. Go up there aggressive. You're going to get pitches to hit. He's going to throw strikes.
You know, Keith, it's almost like Pineiro and Stinnett have recognized that the Mets are 3 down, so they're trying to get base runners by taking a few pitches, so they make sure they pop that first one in there.
What did Tom Seaver say? What's the most important pitch in every at bat?
Strike 1.
1-2 to right. Checks his swing, and he did not go around. Wally Bell with the call down at first. 2-2.
Nice try by Pineiro. This is by design. He wants it away. He also wanted to get it up in the strike zone, up the ladder.
Pineiro has struck out 4. He has walked 1, allowed no runs, and 3 hits. 2-2. On the ground to second, right at Miles. And so Wright is retired for the first time tonight, and the Mets are on 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 6th. On to the 7th. Pedro back to the mound. We go to the 7th inning at Shea. Time for the Aflac trivia question. Carlos Beltran, 5 multiple home run games this season, holds the Met Club record for multiple home run games in a season. Joel Pineiro has been front and center tonight, and he leads off in the 7th inning.
He knows that was an ugly swing.
He spent his whole career in the American League. He's not a hitter.
Oh, that is on my knees.
And he's certainly not a number 8 hitter, except for Tony La Russa. Well, Pedro out there chucking in the 7th for the first time this year. And the Mets need him to go as far as he can. That was just his 93rd pitch. And he strikes out Pineiro on 3 pitches for the 3rd straight time. That's 8 strikeouts for Pedro, who has averaged more than a strikeout per inning this year.
Well, he's always been a strikeout pitcher.
He knows how to put you away. He has so many weapons. It's almost like the hitter reveals his opening, and Pedro goes to it.
So here's Aaron Miles, who's been up twice and flied out both times. And he drops down a bunt. foul. Well, the Mets asked Pedro to go to the mound and give them length tonight, and here he is pitching in the 7th. They asked him to pitch effectively, hoping that their offense would continue to do what their offense has been doing, but that has not happened. And so they find themselves down 3-0 in the 7th inning and hoping they can rally against Pineiro and, if necessary, the St. Louis bullpen over the last 3 innings. So tomorrow's starter, Oliver Perez, who has pitched the best game for the Mets the last couple of times around the rotation by far. Chopped over the mound. Castillo coming in, and he throws out Miles by a half a stride, 2 away.
Well, Oliver Perez, I have no problem with out there in a big ball game. And let's face it, all these games are big now. He competes. If you're going to beat him, you have to beat him.
Well, he dominated the Marlins for 8 innings last Saturday, and he'll be facing Florida again tomorrow night.
Can you imagine if he hadn't gone 8 innings in the middle of all this madness?
It might be even more mad.
The madness of King George.
Enough to drive you to drink.
David Eckstein 1 for 3, singled and scored back in the 1st, and he takes a strike. And if Pedro can get a quick out here, he might have a chance to go out there for the 8th. This is his 98th pitch, and it's a strike, and he's had 0-2 on Eckstein.
It's fun to watch him pitch when he gets it going. Look at Eckstein's got to step out because he just has such a beautiful rhythm right now. Tempo, rhythm, changing speeds, throwing strikes. Beautiful to watch.
Line base hit toward the gap, and Beltran won't be able to cut it off in time, and Eckstein will easily get 2 bases. Beltran was playing over toward right center, and so even though Eckstein didn't hit that ball all that hard, he gets 2 bases out of it.
Well, 0-2 pitch there, and I think Pedro thought that he was going to really hump up on one fastball and throw it right by Eckstein. Just did not get enough on it.
Right on the barrel of the bat. There's the line drive in the gap. Beltran was shading the right center field. No chance to prevent the double.
Delgado coming in to speak to Pedro, not only to calm him down, get him a breath, but also the bullpen has now gotten busy.
Well, right now, if you're Rick Ankiel with that guy in the on-deck circle hitting behind you, go to hitting.
Ankiel is 1 for 3 as Sosa and Feliciano get up. And he takes the changeup outside, and Pedro has stayed soft with Ankiel most of the night.
It's a big run to prevent from scoring.
Strike to ball ratio has been great for Martinez tonight. And another changeup. And it's 2-0.
That's good hitting right there. He's 2-0 now with Pujols in the on-deck circle, and he's smiling at someone.
I think Ankiel's going to get another changeup.
It's 2-0 with Eckstein at second.
Got to look fastball.
And he takes the changeup high, and it's 3-0.
Good call, Ronnie. Now Pedro's in a rock and a hard spot here.
Well, if Ankiel walks, you got to walk Pujols. I don't care if the open base is third. You can't pitch to him.
I like that call.
You got to treat him like Bonds. 3-0 is too high, ball 4, and we'll see in a moment whether Willie Randolph will be willing to do that. But in this spot, 2 out and 2 on, you got Ryan Ludwig on deck. How can you pitch to Pujols here? And the question is, who will pitch to Pujols? Because here comes Willie.
I like your move, Gary.
He's out there without having made a motion, so he may ask Pedro whether he's got enough to get Pujols out, or whether he wants to pitch to him or walk him, or what he wants to do.
You're exactly right, Gary.
So Pedro will stay in after issuing his first walk of the night. Now the question is, what do you do with Pujols? You pitch around him? Do you walk him? Do you go right after him?
Well, most pitchers you'd have to maybe decide to walk him, but with Pedro and his ability to control pitches off the strike zone, I think that's how he's going to go after him.
He might try to sneak a fastball by him and be cagey here. You never know.
Pujols has doubled twice tonight, 2 for 3, and he takes a strike. Started him off with a fastball. So he liked your strategy.
Little cutter there.
in the air to left field, and now Lou is there. And Pedro Martinez gets out of it as he gets Pujols on the fly ball. Now the question is, can the Mets offense draw some inspiration? Beltran, now Lou and Delgado coming up. Pedro finishing 7th. Last of the 7th inning, the Mets down 3-0. Joel Pineiro has thrown just 68 pitches through 6 innings. Carlos Beltran leads off the 7th. And he swings and fouls the first one back. Beltran has grounded out and struck out tonight 0 for 2.
And Miguel Cairo, Cardinal teams are always fundamentally sound. And Miguel Cairo in at around the level of the grass, just in case Beltran tries to put a bunt down. We know that Carlos is a good drag bunter.
Yeah, he checks the swing and takes it high. In Philadelphia, they've gone to the 7th inning. Tom Gordon on in relief for the Phillies. Phillies 6, Braves 3. Moises Alou and Carlos Delgado up behind Beltran here in the 7th. And he swings and misses at a changeup, 1-2. Randy Flores, the left-hander, up in the Cardinal bullpen. Aaron Howman getting loose for New York. Pedro's thrown 104 pitches over 7 innings. He has done his job tonight. Now it's up to the rest of the team to do theirs.
Well, the left-hander is probably up for Delgado if any trouble brews.
1-2. Hit in the air to deep right field, right down the line, hooking toward the pole. Foul ball. Well, Pujols hit a similar one the other way earlier. Beltran takes out a light on that pitch speed board. Oh, as he cranked it.
Well,
if you're ahead of a fastball like that, what's your next pitch? Usually a changeup down and away.
Checks his swing, and he held it in time. Mike Estabrook, the umpire at third, 2-2.
Well, that'll get your attention when you got 2 strikes on you. The hard slider down and in. I think that's going to come back with a changeup now, Ron. We'll see.
2-2. Tapped slowly up the first baseline, and Pineiro is there to play it. Nicely fielded by Joel Pineiro for the first out.
Well, this is all set up, Ronnie, with the slider in. And then he comes with that changeup away. And that's nice athleticism right there from Pineiro.
But he's limping after covering first base.
Looked like he really stretched to reach that ball. And that might have been where he pulled something. And the Cardinal trainer is going to come out for a look.
Oh, boy.
Just as he lunged for the ball, it looked like he took an extra stretch.
Good changeup away. Watch this play. This is the in-between that the pitcher has to make. Might have tweaked that knee a little bit, but you have to have one of those cranes here for the stadium, the new stadium, to get me out of this game. Just throwing too well.
Well, he's going to take a couple tosses. We'll take a gander here. He says he's all right.
And Tony La Russa buys it.
Now here it is right here, that stretch for it. Oh, it's like when he did it when he touched the bag.
Everybody.
So Pineiro will try and shake it off. With 1 out of the bottom of the 7th. Moises Alou 0 for 2 tonight. Trying to stretch his 30-game hitting streak and trying to stretch the Mets' hopes here in the 7th. They've had only 3 hits. And he takes the slider off the plate. Pineiro making his 11th start for the Cardinals. 3 times he's gone 7 innings this year and never farther. And now Alou drives one to right, but right there waiting for it is Ludwig. And that's the 2nd out. So Alou is now 0 for 3. As we check out the Toyota out-of-town scoreboard, Braves batting in the top of the 7th with 2 out and a runner at second base against Tom Gordon. Kelly Johnson just walked to put runners at first and second with 2 outs, so the Braves will get the tying run to the plate with Edgar Renteria coming up. Meanwhile, Carlos Delgado coming up for the Mets. Carlos has one of the Mets' 3 hits. He singled to left center leading off the 5th, but then was erased on a double play. 2 out and nobody on. And Carlos takes a strike.
Boy, he's got good stuff and throwing strikes. 4 pitches: curve, slider, fastball, and a nice sinking changeup.
He's gone to a 3-ball count on only 2 batters tonight. Going into Delgado, 1-1.
And he looks to be okay, Ronnie, with that after that tag at first base. There's your old buddy, Ron.
Dave Duncan, pitching coach for the Cardinals. I've seen Pineiro throw probably a half-dozen games. This is the best I've ever seen him throw. He is on top of his game.
Wouldn't be the first pitcher that Dave Duncan has reclaimed. 2-1.
I'm on that list.
I knew you were going to say that too.
I went from washed up here at Shea to 15 wins the next year with Mr. Duncan.
Delgado swings and misses, and it's 2-2.
2-1 change. Delgado trying to make something happen here. And just a sinking changeup. I mean, he's just in complete command here.
Remind you to all of Jeff Supan's efforts against the Mets last October. 2-2 to Delgado with a low, and it's 3-2. Supan, another guy whose career was reclaimed by Dave Duncan.
Back to his 500 ways with the Brewers this year.
And involved in a little beanball incident with his old team this week. 3-2 to Delgado with 2 out and nobody on. Renteria flied out. The Braves did not score in the top of the 7th, so it's still 6-3 Philly going to the bottom of the 7th. So the Mets are going to have to make their own luck tonight. And Kelly Stinnett wants a conversation with Pineiro before they throw the 3-2 to Delgado.
Well, I think right here, Dunk is looking in amazement. Right here, you want to go away, throw a pitch. It's 3-0. You want to take a chance that someone out there is going to make a catch, make a play.
Don't want to walk anybody.
Yeah, can't walk.
He's only walked 1 tonight. Struck him out. 5 strikeouts for Joel Pineiro. He's retired 7 in a row. He's pitching his best game at a Cardinal, and it's coming as the worst time for the New York Mets. Now the games keep getting bigger, but the signs keep getting more ominous for the Mets. Luis Castillo's first inning error led to an unearned run against Pedro Martinez. David Wright doing his part, but Albert Pujols with a couple of doubles on the Mets, who have been scoring runs in droves, have been unable to break through offensively tonight. An old Met, Miguel Cairo, starting a good-looking double play. And Pedro Martinez did his job, just 2 earned runs over 7 innings, but now Pedro is done. The Mets offense is not arrived yet, and Met fans have a headache, which has been developing over the last couple of weeks, as Aaron Heilman, who pitched a very good inning last night, takes over in the 8th tonight.
He did. Only hit his last 23 innings. ERA under 2.
Ryan Ludwig tied up inside. He went around, 0-1. Ludwig drove in a run with a 3rd inning single, 1 for 3 on the night. Pedro went 7 innings, allowed 3 runs, 2 of them earned, 7 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. And on most nights recently for the Mets, that would have been plenty. But that's what happens when a team's not going well. You finally get a good pitching performance, and the offense disappears. Skip Schumacher on deck. And a good changeup by Heilman, 1-2.
Just amazing. A job of getting ready by Pedro Pineiro there with a great start so far. 55 weeks after the shoulder operation, coming back and pitching like he did tonight. And this game was just masterful.
2-2 to Ludwig. Well, the Mets have 6 outs to play with. Pineiro certainly will be out there for the 8th. He's thrown only 82 pitches. Pulled foul, but the Cardinals have a pretty good and deep bullpen anchored by Jason Isringhausen, who has pitched very well coming down the stretch. So the Mets really have their work cut out for them, and they need for Heilman to hold the fort here. There's Izzy. Two to Ludwig, just off the corner, and it's 3-2. 2 appearances ago in Florida. Howman walked the first 2 men to face him, and that really blew up on him. 3-2 on Ludwig leading off the 8th. And he walked him. 3-2 changeup missed. And the Cardinals have the leadoff man on for the first time since the first inning. Well, the Mets all season have struggled to win games at home. They have the best road record in the majors, but look at that. Their ERA at home is last in the league. Their overall ERA is 7th in the league. What does that tell you in a pitcher's park?
And you see that road record, 47-34, it just makes you shake your head. This is pathology here. They didn't play well at home last year.
The Mets have now lost 6 straight games here at Shea Stadium, the 3 to the Phillies and the 3 to the Nationals.
Russa right here is going to try to push the envelope, either with a steal or a hit and run.
Ludwig stole a base earlier in the game. He has 4 for the year. And Schumacher shoots 1 foul. Tomorrow night, Oliver Perez against Byung-Hyun Kim as the Mets and Marlins begin the final weekend of the season. The Phillies will be staying home and playing the Nationals over the weekend, and they'll have Cole Hamels going tomorrow night. Delgado holding against Ludwig. And Schumacher takes it off the plate, 1-1. There are your pitching matchups for the weekend. Mets saw all 3 of those starters, Kim, Seddon, and Willis, last weekend in Florida. Willis, after the Mets beat him, pitched a gem against the Cubs his last time out. The runner goes, grounded to the right side for Castillo. And he gets the out at first, but on the hit and run play, Ludwig advances to second.
Nice call, Ronnie. Ronnie, you know your former manager. And I agree with that play. Hit and run there, 3-0, try to bust it open.
So here's Cairo, who's made a couple of important defensive plays in this game. 0 for 3 at the plate.
Well, it failed the hit and run, but what did it accomplish? The least it can accomplish is the runner advancing into scoring position if you put it in play.
Ball 1 to Cairo. Ryan Franklin is up in the Cardinals bullpen. Miguel Cairo, a Met in 2005. Played a lot of second base for the Mets that year. And he bounces 1 foul, 1-1.
What is the pitch count, Gary, of Pineiro? You have it?
Paltry.
Only 82. He could go 9.
I know
Yes,
what you're
he
thinking,
could.
Keith.
Well, I just saw that shot out in that Cardinal bullpen, and boy, would you want out of this game, Ronnie?
Oh, are you kidding me?
He's not coming out.
Shut piece. A chance.
Yes.
1-1 to Cairo. And he grounds it to right. Diving stop. He has the runner hung up. And Castillo will run Ludwig to third. Wright puts the tag on before Cairo can get to second. And so nicely done by David Wright. First the diving stop, and then recognizing he had Ludwig hung up and making the tag fast enough to keep Cairo at first.
Well, a big base running blunder by Ludwig here. The ball's hit to your right at second base. You always got to freeze. Wright's going to have to hurry the throw to first base. You can take your lead, and if Wright throws to first, then you go to third, and that's F-Troop. Larry Storch. Corporal Agarn.
More Three Stooges to me.
So now 2 out, Cairo at first, and here's Stinnett, who's 0 for 3. He was robbed by David Wright with a great play back in the second. And a swing and a miss at the changeup. And there's Pineiro set to hit next. So I don't care who's up in the Cardinal bullpen. He's not going anywhere.
Well, I know we had a nice run down there, but I don't think we gave David Wright enough credit there. A nice play to save a run, young David. Nice play.
Got to watch Cairo here. He doesn't have great speed, but he loves to sneak a stolen base every once in a while.
He's got 10 this year in limited playing time. 2-1 to Stinnett. The Phillies didn't score in the bottom of the 7th, so they go to the 8th. J.C. Romero on to pitch. Phillies 6, Braves 3.
There'll be no winter ball for the relievers for the Phillies this year. Boy, they're in every game. The Gordon, Romero, Myers.
2-1, and Stinnett fouls it off. Well, I believe that brings us to our Ask the Booth question tonight. So let's ask it. Brought to you by Dodge. Molly from Keyport says, are the Mets' recent bullpen problems due to fatigue?
RJ, you want it first?
2 outs now with that question. Got to go quick.
Hang in there, Molly. We'll get you after this inning's over.
I think it's a combination of all bullpens are fatigued physically at the end of the year, but the way the game has changed, where pitchers go 5 or 6 innings, what happens is bullpens become fatigued mentally. Used to occasionally have a complete game here or there, or a guy who's on top of his game and you could sit back and relax. That's no longer.
There goes Cairo, and Stinnett fouls it off. So you're saying occasionally you'd get a mental break, because if a guy was having a good game, you can kind of put your feet up.
Put your feet up, you know, put a chew in. Oh, that's not politically correct.
No, that's all right.
Do that anymore. But yeah, you could do that. But also, I think, Gary and Keith, now that you're using 5, 6, 7 pitchers, at some point in the game, you have your 11th, 12th, or 13th pitcher on the staff getting key outs. That's not a recipe for success very often.
Throw enough guys out there, the odds are one of them's going to fail. 2-2 to Stinnett. Struck him out. Aaron Hammond with the changeup gets Stinnett to end the inning, so he works around the leadoff walk. Mets come up in the bottom of the 8th, still down 3-zip. The street games continue on SNY, and it's time to enter to the scrum for rugby. Plus, we hit the handball courts in Central Park. Street games presented by Pontiac tonight at 11 p.m. only on SNY. Let's answer our Aflac trivia question.
Aflac!
We asked you which Met has the most multiple home run games in a season. That would be Sky King.
Beltran, 22 in his career.
Paul LaDuca leads off in the bottom of the 8th against Joel Pineiro, who has held the Mets to just 3 hits tonight. He's walked only 1, struck out 5, and thrown just 82 pitches. And LaDuca takes the first one.
Well, I'll tell you what, these first 2 hitters in the line at the bottom of the order for the Mets, but I'll tell you what, to get something happening, you got 2 tough strikeouts and line drive hitters and guys that are hot in LaDuca and Sean Green.
There's a strike, 1-1. Flores the left-hander, Franklin the right-hander. But what comes into play in this inning is the suspension of Marlon Anderson, who had his appeal denied today and is sitting out tonight and tomorrow. This is an inning where Marlon would appear. Grounded down toward third. Cairo fields it. It's a foul ball. First home plate umpire should have called that, but didn't. So everybody had to hesitate.
Well, that's Laz Diaz down there, isn't it?
He just didn't call it.
He didn't get out in time. Watch him behind the plate. He hesitates, and too long did not get at the plate to see that. Third base umpire Welke picked him up.
And Cairo was looking around. He was looking to Diaz because he knew the ball was foul.
Keith, let me ask you a question now. I know the Mets need base runners, so their approach has been to take the first pitch. The problem is Pineiro,
I agree, Ron.
His stuff is so good that once he gets ahead of you, he can go to his good breaking stuff.
I know exactly where you were going with that, and the thought just crossed my mind.
To LaDuca.
You want your line drive hitters, your hot hitters swinging. If it's 1-0, maybe a Reyes Castillo, yes, but your good line drive hitters swinging a hot bat. They're head 1-0. Go swing.
Grounded down to third. Fair ball for Cairo. And LaDuca retired one away. That is 8 in a row retired by Pineiro. Second time he's had a stretch like that tonight. And now Sean Green with only 5 outs left to play with. The Braves did not score in the top of the 8th. They go to the bottom of the 8th in Philly. Phillies 6, Braves 3.
Well, there's Tony La Russa on the bullpen phone there, and I wouldn't entrust this game to anybody. You got a hot pitcher out there.
Why would you? Why would you even think about taking him out at this point? Green has one of the Mets' 3 hits, an infield single, and he hits one past the mound. Eckstein with the dive, gets up, the throw, got him! Oh! Eckstein with an outstanding play to take a base hit away from Green for the 2nd out.
Well, this is just going on the other side of second base. Just beautiful. Look how quick he got up to throw. I thought he beat it. Let's see. Beautiful play by Eckstein. Let's see. Another look.
I don't think you got him, Keith, by a half a step.
Boy, that's as close as it gets. Yep. Good call. You're right, Ron. You're on point today.
So that's 9 in a row for Pineiro, who lost his hat leaping for that ball. So the Cardinals getting outstanding defense tonight. Now here's Ruben Gotay to pinch hit. He takes the slider for ball 1.
Pineiro has 14 outs in this game by way of the ground ball.
And he still has yet to throw his 90th pitch. That's about to come with 2 out in the 8th inning. Pineiro has 9 complete games in his career, 3 shutouts. The last one came in 2003 for Seattle. That's the year he won 16 games.
Well, to me, this is a lesson in pitching right here for all you young kids. Just going after hitters. You see so many, the new philosophy, you're ahead and nibble, and it's 3-2 after when you're ahead 0-2. You got the hitter behind the 8 ball when you're ahead 0-2, 1-2. Go after him. And Pineiro has not wasted any time.
2-1 to Gotay, and there's a strike. 2-2.
You're just getting everything over. A 2-1 change up to Gotay, up 3-0. Everything he is throwing is turning to gold.
That pitcher says 1,000 words.
And Gotay down swinging to end the inning. 6 strikeouts for Pineiro, who has retired 10 Mets in a row. He's allowed just 3 hits through 8. Be sure to take mass transit to Shea. Catch the weekend series with the Florida Marlins Friday night and Saturday and Sunday afternoon. Go to Mets.com now for your tickets. Well, Joel Pineiro has thrown 8 shutout innings. As you look at Pedro Feliciano set to pitch the Mets in the ninth. 93 pitches, and he is coming out of the game.
Unbelievable.
So Taguchi will bat for Pineiro against Feliciano. You know, oftentimes you can understand it. Here is one where this is his last start of the year. He's thrown 93 pitches. He's got a 3-hit shutout going. Why would you take him out?
It makes you hang your head in shame. That's what it does to me.
Well, the Mets will be thrilled, absolutely thrilled, to see him out of the game. Jason Isringhausen notwithstanding.
They will be thrilled, but it's an important job for Feliciano to get through this inning, just like Heilman did. Cannot afford any more runs.
And the breaking ball outside to Taguchi, 1-1.
It's just absolutely phenomenal.
This year there have been only 112 complete games in Major League Baseball, so that number continues to sink as Taguchi rips one foul. And I might also add, the Mets have 2 complete games this year. One was 5 innings, one was 6 innings. No Met has gone 9 this season.
It is just stunning to me. I am sorry. Gary, you are absolutely right. His last start of the, I don't care if it's April.
But I mean, that just adds to it. I mean, it's not like you have to rest him for anything.
Yeah, he's got about, what, 180 days rest? And it's fine.
It's the attitude of the pitcher today that's like, okay, take me out. No, you have to kill me to get me out of this game.
Taguchi lifts it to left, and Alou is under it. Alou's got plenty of work out there tonight. That's the first out.
I mean, Isringhausen can come in and blow a game in a heartbeat.
And he has against the Mets. The only thing I can think about is if a pitcher says, I tweaked my leg, maybe I'm not feeling great, but it's hard for me to believe that, because that nifty 8 innings, he just plowed through the Mets lineup.
You got top of the order coming up. 3-hit shut piece through 8.
Here's Aaron Miles, who's 0 for 3, and he lines one at Alou, and he comes in and makes the play. 2 down. That's 7 putouts for Alou tonight. So Feliciano retires the first 2, and now David Eckstein, who's 2 for 4 tonight with a single and a double. Well, Pedro Martinez did his job. 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 3 runs overall on 7 hits. Joel Pineiro, though, was brilliant. For 8 innings, he allowed no runs and 3 hits. He walked 1, he struck out 6, he retired the last 10 batters to face him, and he'll hand it over to Isringhausen, who's blown just 2 saves all year. Mets at the top of the batting order coming up at the bottom of the 9th inning. Reyes, Castillo, and Wright hoping they can get something going, as the offense has been vacant tonight. And after all the runs the Mets have scored in the last few weeks, they've now gone 13 straight innings without a run. 1-1 to Eckstein. Phillies up 6-3 in the bottom of the 8th. If all stays as it is, for the first time since May the 16th, the Mets will not own first place by themselves. One-two to Eckstein. Struck him out. Oh no, he got a piece of it. Just got a piece to stay alive. Rick Ankiel on deck. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night, we'll go in the Mets clubhouse. Last weekend of Major League Baseball here and elsewhere, and the Knicks on trial. One-two to Eckstein. Now he struck him out. So Feliciano pitches a 1-2-3 top of the 9th. Now it's on the offense. Reyes, Castillo, and Wright with the Mets down 3-0. We go to the bottom of the 9th. There have been no home runs tonight, but Skip Schumacher provided the Coors Light cold blast. First inning, after an error by Castillo opened the door. Schumacher singled in the first run of the game. And to this point, that's been the only run the Cardinals have needed. 8 brilliant innings out of Joel Pineiro, and now he hands it off to Jason Isringhausen for the bottom of the 9th.
Well, Isringhausen has been outstanding so far this season for the St. Louis Cardinals. 30 out of 33 chances and saves. His 62nd game. And what a performance by that pitcher Joel Pineiro, who had everything working.
Well, the Mets will start the 4th time around the batting order, hoping that the 4th time is the charm. Reyes is 0 for 3 tonight. He struck out twice. As he starts him off with a fastball for a strike. Jason Isringhausen, he began his career as a Met as part of Generation K. Hurt last postseason, but now in a position to put a dagger in the Mets tonight. And it's bounced foul. 0-2.
Well, there's that Isringhausen curveball. Great pitch. It's been an out pitch for him throughout his career.
Castillo and Wright to follow. And the breaking ball hits slowly for Miles. 1 out. So Reyes takes his 2nd straight 0 for 4.
Well, what a game to have the Mets to have a good old-fashioned gem thrown at them.
Yeah, that's a shutout, as Gary said, in 4 seasons. Did it for 8 innings tonight.
Well, you don't get credit for shutouts for pitching 8, but he should have been pitching 9.
I might change that rule.
Castillo is 0 for 3, 3 ground ball outs. And there's a strike.
He seems like he's fully recovered.
Yes.
95 miles an hour last season, early in the season, maybe throwing 91, 92. Yeah, it is nail biting time.
0-1 to Castillo. And the curveball misses. 1-1. Mets need base runners. Beltran in the hole, hoping the two men can get on in front of him and give the Mets a chance. One. Chopped to second for Miles. 2 out. So the Mets are down to their final out of the night. And David Wright coming up. Mets have had only one runner as far as second base in this game, and that was Wright, who doubled back in the first inning. Mets have only been shut out 4 times this season. And they're 1 out away from getting shut out tonight. Meanwhile, the Phillies are leading 6-3 over the Braves in the bottom of the 8th. Ball 1 to David Wright.
No, a bit surprised there that Isringhausen threw a little cutter there with everybody taking first pitch. It's a 3-0 game. If Wright goes deep, hey, okay, then you go to work.
There's a strike, and it's 1-1. Now, the Mets offense tonight was completely shut down by Joel Pineiro. But you have to wonder how much of this is a hangover from last night. This team was stunned as a group after blowing a 5-0 lead yesterday. Didn't score the last 5 innings of that game after falling behind. And if they don't score in this inning, it'll be 14 straight innings without a run. 2-1 the count to Wright with 2 out. And he lifts one in the air to right field. Ludwig has it lined up. And the ball game is over. The Mets are shut out for the 5th time this season. They lose for the 10th time in their last 14 games. And unless the Braves can rally in the 9th inning in Philadelphia, for the first time since May the 16th, the Mets will share first place.
Well, Pedro Martinez did his part. He pronounced himself fit to pitch another start. It's whether the New York Mets can recover and get themselves into the postseason, as Joel Pineiro was just outstanding, followed up by Isringhausen, and just enough hitting off Pedro Martinez with those two earned runs.
Well, it just keeps on snowballing here on the Mets, and the frustration is building. And let's give Joel Pineiro some credit here. He just pitched I think the finest game I've seen all year against the Mets. I mean, that was just in complete command with 4 pitches. And if the Phillies hang on, as Ronnie said, we are tied with 3 to play.
Well, the Mets will have 3 more games to go, all of them against the Florida Marlins here at Shea Stadium. But the Mets came home hoping to put the division away, and instead they've lost all 4 games on this homestand. 3 to the Nationals and 1 to the Cardinals. And now they can only contemplate what is ahead for them on this final weekend. The game in Philadelphia has gone to the 9th inning with the Phillies up 6-3. And unless they blow that 3-run lead, the Phillies, who have been fighting uphill all season since a 4-11 start, will have moved into a first-place tie with the Mets with 3 games to go. And remember, if they do tie for first place and the wild card is not a fallback, the 2 teams would play a 1-game playoff in Philadelphia on Monday.
I'm sure there was a bit of cheering in Philadelphia when they announced that score at Citizens Bank Park, and both Met fans and Mets lost.
Well, a terrific job by Joel Pineiro. 6-4 as a Cardinal, 7-5 overall. Pedro suffers his first loss, although he certainly did his job, allowing just 2 earned runs over 7 innings. As Moises Alou's hitting streak ends at a remarkable 30 games. Right now it's a half-game lead. In just a few minutes it could be a 0-game lead for the Mets if the Phillies hang on, although Jeff Frank Kerr just homered to lead off the 9th, and now it's a 6-4 Philadelphia lead. Well, the Mets had a 7-game lead with 17 to play, and unless the Braves have a big rally in them in that 9th inning, and they already have 1, the Mets will not have a lead going into the final weekend of the season. A distraught Paul LaDuca heads off for the clubhouse. Mets fall 3-0 to the Cardinals. They haven't scored a run in 14 innings. Back to Shea in just a moment.